G'day there guys, it's Connie here again, coming at you with some more crazy Reddit stories. So sit back, relax, hit like and subscribe, and enjoy. Cheers guys.
Okay, well, on relationships, this one was written by a throwaway account, and it's titled, Caught my wife sending pics to brother-in-law. Is our marriage salvageable at this point? I really don't want to spam this sub. I posted it today morning, but when I returned from my office, my account was banned. This will be my last try to post this. My wife, Jessica, 34, and I, 35 male, have been married for 3 years, and we dated for 2 years before that, and we have a 2-year-old daughter. Jessica has 2 sisters. The eldest one, 38, is married to Jake, 40. A week ago, I came home from work early and wanted to scare Jessica. I tried to be sneaky, but somehow I slipped and accidentally hurt my back. Jessica came to my rescue. I went to the bedroom, and she went to the kitchen to get an ice pack. Her phone was by the bed, and a WhatsApp notification came from Jake saying, quote, "You've got the best pair I've ever seen." I immediately knew what was happening. I unlocked the phone and saw that she'd just sent some pics and videos of her boobs to Jake, and there were no previous chats before that. When Jessica came back to the room, I showed her the chat and asked, "How long?" I've known this woman for 10 years and I've never seen her so mortified. Her eyes got teary and she said, "Babe, I'm so sorry, but I can't explain." So I said, "Go on." According to her, at the end of 2019, she was struggling with money and Jake suggested he would help her out. He hinted that he would like to see her pics. I feel like I'm writing a porno script at this point. So she did send him pics and it continued over the years. She swears there was nothing emotional or physical involved. It was purely transactional. I didn't believe any of it, but she showed me on Venmo. That mother effer paid her $300 yesterday. I then told her, "It's been 5 years. Try to remember if anything physical happened." For me, if even half of what she's saying is true, how could something like that not become physical? She started crying and told me she could prove it tomorrow because Jake would get suspicious if she tried to talk to him now. I took her phone, went to a bar, got wasted for the night, and when I came back she was still there crying. I just slept on the couch. Next day morning I gave her the phone she called to Jake. The conversation goes something like this. Jessica: "Hey, I was wondering if you want some more pics." Jake: "I'm short on money. Yesterday I spent all of it." Jessica says, "We can do something more this time and meet in person. I've changed my mind on that." Jake says, "No way. How much are we talking about?" I felt like I was going to puke. I told her that we are done and left for the office. I'm not a very wealthy dude, but I would consider myself a stable guy who could take care of his family. Now I just feel like I've failed as a man, whose wife had to sell her body to meet her expected lifestyle. When I got home that night, she looked like crap. I asked Jessica why she kept taking money from him after we got married, and why she didn't ask me while we were dating. She said she didn't know how to stop, and that it was easy money. I left my home that night and told her she can keep the home and the car, but I want 50-50 custody of my child. So here I am now. I haven't told anyone about this. It's been a week since, staying in a hotel. I go home in the evening to play with my daughter. I'm speaking with divorce lawyers, and Jessica is constantly talking about marriage counselling. Oh man, I mean there's a tiny bit of solace in the fact that it was purely transactional and not physical, but why is she doing that, man? Regardless of what she says about easy money or whatever, it's clear that she likes the attention. And for most people, this is plain cheating. Let's go to the comments. Her sister deserves to know. I'm so sorry. The short answer, no, it's not salvageable. There's no coming back from this betrayal. She cheated for 5 years. 5 years of backstabbing you and her sister. This was not a mistake. She made the choice to cheat over and over. Trust is the foundation of any relationship. Trust is irrevocably broken. You'll never look at her the same again when she complains about money or goes out with friends. This is not someone you want to trust, love, or share your life with. She's been doing this for 5 years. To be honest, she's upset because she got caught and the consequences. This is not your fault. You did not fail as a husband. Your partner failed you, your child, and her sister. You deserve better. Collect the evidence. Contact an attorney. Let her sister know. Let your families know. Get it out in the open. Work towards amicable divorce and co-parenting. Get yourself into individual therapy to help process this betrayal. Couples cancelling down the road would be okay with a goal of effective co-parenting. It's going to be tough for a while, but you'll be better off in the long run. My comment for the first post: it's been 5 years of cheating, 5 years of hurting you and her own sister. It's done. Get the lawyer for custody. After custody is set, I would tell the sister. Edit to clarify, when I said custody, I meant the 50-50 custody that OP wants. Okay guys, onto an update. Before getting to the update, some people are asking me to get a paternity test. I don't need one. I know she's my daughter because I'm Indian and Jessica, my wife, is white and my daughter looks like me. Now for the update. After I made that post, I shared my situation with my cousin's sister, 30. She is the only family member I have living in the States. I visited her place the next day and she knocked some sense into me. I realised part of me still didn't want a divorce because I basically married Jessica against my parents' will. They wanted me to have an arranged marriage, so my failed marriage would hurt my ego. She also arranged a meeting with a divorce lawyer, and no, I'm not giving up my house, I was just emotional at that time. From what I understand, in our state, adultery has pretty much zero impact on the assets, so it will likely be a 50-50 split. However, there's a high chance I can get better custody of my daughter because I have a job and Jessica doesn't. She is also involved in sex work at this point, which could work in my favour. My father-in-law called me last evening and he was crying. He told me he didn't know what to say to me, and that if he were in my place, he would have left her. Apparently Jessica got scared and told her family everything after I didn't visit home for 2 days and had blocked her everywhere. I guess I should have done that a little while ago, and Jake is out of his house also. So I think I'll go for a divorce because there's no point of reconciliation at this point when the whole relationship seems fake to me. One comment says, "Did the sister kick out the brother-in-law?" Opie said, "Yeah, she kicked him out yesterday. I didn't ask about them that much, but it sounded like my sister-in-law is sure she's getting a divorce." It doesn't really matter if she was cheating or not. The main thing is, she lied throughout the whole relationship, and I refuse to believe it was only for money. It could have been an issue when we were dating, but not after marriage. I am a software developing engineer 3 with 10 years of experience, and I have a somewhat high-paying job. I'm only thinking about my daughter. If I patch up everything with Jessica, I'll still have trust issues, and it would set a bad example of a relationship in my daughter's eyes, which can be bad in the long term. Alrighty, now for another update. Before getting to the update, some people were cursing me in my DMs, saying I might not earn enough and accusing me of financially abusing my wife and taking advantage of her. I don't think this is the case for me. My salary is close to mid-6 figures, and we have a joint account where I put half of my in-hand salary, and we don't even spend that much. For those who are confused about the relationships in my post, my wife was exchanging pics with her brother-in-law, her sister's husband, not mine. Now to the update. After the day Jessica told everyone about the situation, my mother-in-law called and wanted to talk. She was with Jessica after the whole thing happened. I returned to my home later that evening, and her parents and her sister Josie, 38 female, Jake's wife, was there. After I got there, Jessica wanted to talk alone. According to her, Jake was trying to pursue her since she was about 16 or 17. For context, Jake and Josie have been together for 20 years now. This continued for almost 2 years. He used to make suggestive comments about her body, and she told Josie about it. But Josie didn't believe Jessica at that time, and told her she was doing this for attention. Jessica didn't tell her parents either because, according to her, Josie was their parents' favourite, so nobody would have believed her. Jake didn't do anything between those years besides casual flirting until 2019, when Jessica was having problems with rent and the whole transactional thing happened. I asked why she didn't ask me about it, and she said we were only 1 month into dating and it could have looked bad. She swears nothing happened after that until last year when Jake and Josie started having problems in their marriage and he started messaging Jessica again. She didn't entertain him at first, but she had gained some weight from pregnancy and thought I was ignoring her because of it, which I was not. At that time, I was working close to 13 to 14 hours a day to change my niche to another tech stack. Massive layoffs were also going on, so it was a pretty bad time. Now, she admitted that she liked the attention and validation this time. She called herself an attention tramp, but she didn't have any feelings towards him. They started exchanging pics and money, and this happened 3 times. Then she admitted it was cheating, although there was no emotional or physical actions from her side, but she said that she shouldn't have done it. I asked her why she didn't tell me about Jake harassing her when we first met or started dating. She said she thought I wouldn't have believed her and that it was in the past. Then I asked why she didn't tell me the first time I found out about this. Her answer was the same. She believed I wouldn't have believed her because nobody else knew about this. I was just sad about the fact she doesn't trust me enough to tell me such a horrific incident. Now, I did something I'm not very proud of. I asked her about a paternity test. I know it was stupid, but emotionally I was in a weird place at that moment. She was totally emotionless throughout the whole conversation, but after hearing about the test, she broke down crying and started hyperventilating. I started crying too. After about 10 minutes or so, we stopped crying, and she said okay, then asked me if we're getting a divorce. I said, I don't know. She then said we should get a post-nut before I do something like that. That line felt like a tight slap to my face. I was like, you're not even going to convince me not to go through with it? Then she left with her parents. The next day she called crying, asking not to get a divorce and to start marriage counselling. Obviously, I said okay. So here we are now, after some weird couple of days, still getting the post-nup. Her individual counselling starting next week, our marriage counselling starting next month. Hopefully, trust will return someday. Also, Jake is denying all that. According to him, Jessica seduced him for money, and my sister-in-law is getting a divorce. I know some people are going to call me a doormat, but I don't care. Yeah, I mean, if OP truly thinks this marriage is salvageable, then good for him, I guess, but yeah, call me cynical, but it just doesn't seem likely to me. Okay, let's go to another update. We are separating for a while, not legally. She's just moving to her parents' house for at least 6 months. She hasn't done anything wrong in the past 2 weeks. Then again, she hasn't done anything wrong in the last year either, and I can't get her out of my mind and end up checking my phone every few minutes. So I thought I needed to clear my mind to decide if I really want to reconcile or not. Maybe 6 months would be a good amount of time. We're getting a post-nup and keeping all my assets to myself. I'm not sure how that's going to play out if we get a divorce, even if it's amicable. Now for some final comments. Did you by any chance end up getting the paternity test that you threatened about in the now deleted previous update? Opie said, yeah, the results were positive. Commenter replies, wonderful. I really hope that you and your wife are able to work through this. Obviously, a lot of therapy, both individually and together, is going to be needed. I also hope that there are a lot of extremely explicit rules in place during the separation so that your ex doesn't exacerbate things to make it impossible to get back together because you're separated. Opie replies, yes, her IC started this week. We're not going to marriage counselling for the first few months. I don't think the main purpose of the separation is to get back together. Rather, we want to see if we really want to reconcile or not. She's sure she wants to, but I am not certain. I don't think any child should grow up in a broken home like this. There aren't any extreme rules, just a simple no contact policy unless necessary, and I'll be seeing my daughter every other day. Another commenter says, didn't see it. Did you tell her sister about the affair? Opie said she told her family about it. Now we're getting separated for a while before taking any big steps. You can find it on my post history, I think. And Opie comments when asked if his wife was coerced and how the sister-in-law is doing. Opie said, yeah, it seems like grooming. Her sister is blaming herself for the whole thing because she didn't listen when Jessica first told her about it, and they're getting divorced. Honestly, if there's anyone to blame here, it's definitely not the sister. But yeah, I don't know, I just can't see this marriage working. I mean, Opie's making 6 figures and she still feels the need to sell nudes for money. Like, how does that make sense if she's not getting some personal satisfaction out of it? I don't know, I'd love to hear your thoughts. Let me know in the comments. Alrighty, let's move on to another story. Okay, we're on the same subreddit. This one was written by a throwaway account, and it's titled, I shot an adult scene when I was 18. My husband doesn't know, and I just found the video again on the internet. Should I tell him? 20 years ago, when I was 18 years old, I shot an adult scene. I didn't intend to shoot the scene. I was going with my friend for support, and when she chickened out at the last minute, I stepped in and did it. I regretted it immediately after, and regretted it even more when I saw it on the internet. The video, which was about 30 minutes long, made its way around, mostly being shared on file-sharing servers. This was post to Napster, so there were a lot of knockoffs at the time, but after a while the video seemed to disappear and nobody I knew ever found out about it. I met my husband a few years after I shot that scene and I never told him. I was ashamed and prayed that he would never find out. He never did, and we've been married for 15 years and have 2 children together. He is the love of my life and he satisfies me in every way. I check frequently for that video that I made, and unfortunately, last week I found it again on an adult site. It's one of the more popular sites, and I'm now terrified that someone will find it. It could be someone that my husband works with, or a friend of my daughter's. I'm just terrified. My question is, should I finally come clean and tell my husband? I know that he won't leave me if I do. He knows I was rather promiscuous before I met him, and he's been okay with all of the crazy things I did before him, but this is the one thing I never told him. It's the thing I'm most ashamed of, and I don't want him to ever see it. And that is what is preventing me from telling him, because I don't want him to see it. There are many reasons for this. The biggest for me is that I don't want my husband to feel insecure. The man I shot that scene with had a very large penis, and I made kind of a big deal about it when I shot the scene. My husband is a little above average in that area, but he isn't close to that guy. But none of the other guys I've been with were either. I've had the best sex of my life with my husband, and that's the truth, but I still feel like he may lose his confidence if he sees that video. So what do I do? Should I just roll the dice and pray he never finds it, or just come clean? Yeah, that is tricky. Personally, I'd probably just cross my fingers and hope that it gets lost in the dregs of the internet, but that's just me. Let's go to some comments. So this was 20 years ago. How will anyone recognize it was you? Is there some tattoo or birthmark that would make people identify you positively? Just let it go. In the 0.00005% chance someone raises it, just laugh and say, "Gee, that does look a lot like younger me. How funny," and move on. Opie says, "I don't look all that different. I've kept myself in shape, and my husband would surely recognize me if he ever came across it himself. I don't know how much porn he watches, but I know he has in the past, which I know about and I'm fine with." I wouldn't worry about it. The internet is so choked with it, it's unlikely anyone you know will see it and recognize you given your current age, unless they know exactly what to look for. Even if someone you know sees it, they probably will assume it's just someone who resembles you, given you're decades older now. Opie replies, "Someone else maybe, but my husband would 100% know it was me just based on the noises I make. My mannerisms are the same, and my voice is the same." Tell him. You've been in a 15-year relationship. If telling him this one thing breaks apart your relationship, then there were more problems with it than just an omission of porn. I had a promiscuous past too, but I've always told my partners up front and haven't had a lot of negative reactions. Just surprise. Keeping something like this hidden for 15 years will most likely hurt him though, so be prepared to face his hurt. Don't let him find out from anyone but you. Being honest with him will show your sincerity and regret. Opie replies, "It won't break our relationship, but it may severely harm our sex life. I just don't want him to be insecure given the size of the guy in the video I made. I also made a really big deal about the size in the video, so he may think I really care a lot about it." Opie adds on the sex tape and why she filmed it. "If you opened up a popular site last week, you'd see it on the first page. I'm not sure on the algorithm per individual user, but it was new last week and it got a bunch of comments. And the video is kind of unique. It shows me and my friend coming in, her chickening out, and me stepping in as someone who's never done porn before. It's 100% real and got a lot of traffic for 2004, pre-smartphone. I fear it goes viral. Not sure if that's a thing, but I fear it taking off." Well, I had no intention of shooting anything before I got there, but that makes it worse since I got there, got turned on, and decided to do it. Yeah, I'm sure we all have very unique regrets from our past as well. Let's go to an update. After I posted, I thought a lot about telling my husband and finally decided to do it. My original post had over 1.7k upvotes and over 2.4k comments, and someone even started a post on another sub dedicated to finding the damn video that has nearly 1,000 upvotes. It's that interest in my video that scared me, and I simply couldn't live with the anxiety that one day he'll come to me and ask if I shot a porn scene. So I sat him down last night and just came out with it. He thought I was joking at first, but once he realized I was serious, he got quiet. He had questions which I answered. Most of them I covered in my original post. Then I asked if he wanted to see it, and he said he thought he had to. My heart sank, but I pulled it up and asked if I could watch with him. He agreed, and I held his hand as we watched it. He laughed when he saw the size of the guy's penis, so I relaxed a little after that. My husband made a few more light comments while we watched, and when it was over he said, "Well, that wasn't too bad." I pestered him for a bit afterward about how he really felt about it. He just kind of shrugged and said that from what he could tell, we've had much better sex than that, and we have, so that was a great sigh of relief. My husband has always been confident and comfortable in his own skin. He's a catch, and he knows how crazy I've always been about him. He didn't judge me either. He said I was 18, and 18-year-olds do things they regret when they're older. Later on, he wanted to watch it one more time, and then never again, so we watched it again together and didn't quite make it through before starting up with each other. It turned into a really good night. My husband ended up finding the video in a few other places once he knew what to look for. Many people have suggested trying to get it taken down, but I did sign forms and provide ID when the scene was shot, so I don't know what recourse I would have. I will look into it, but since my husband knows now, I'm less stressed about it. Thanks to everyone who offered advice. It was all very helpful. Also, I'm simply not going to help anyone find the video, so you can stop pretending to be a tech expert asking for the link under the guise that you'll get it taken down for me. I'm not stupid. I may have done stupid things, but that doesn't make me an idiot. The video is out there, so you can look all you want, but I'll never confirm that the video you found is mine. Okie dokie folks, and that's the end of that story. Yeah, about as good of an ending as you could hope in telling him, and if I'm honest, it kind of sounded like he was a little bit into it, which, hey, I'm not judging. Anyway, I'd love to hear your thoughts. Let me know down below. Okay, as usual, we're on relationships. This one was written by user Cute Classic, and it's titled, "Do I need to worry about my boyfriend's friendship with his professor?" My boyfriend, 24, became friends with his former professor, 25 female, sometime last year. I don't know what to make of it. They seem to be friendly and talk consistently every week, and from what he tells me, it's usually very surface level. Sometime last year, after the course ended, my boyfriend, his professor, and some of his male classmates went somewhere to eat together. My boyfriend brought up that he was going to be attending an event, plastic modelling show, and his professor showed interest and invited herself to the event and asked if she could stay at his Airbnb with his friends. My boyfriend and his friends were all okay with it. I unfortunately couldn't attend the event, but from what my boyfriend told me, he and a few of his friends met up at the Airbnb. That same day, his professor comes to the boyfriend's Airbnb and tagged a few of her girlfriends along. I believe they all stayed in the same place. The next day, they go to the event, went to a bar afterwards and got drinks. A lot of them, except my boyfriend, got pretty drunk, and my boyfriend took the liberty of being the designated driver for his professor and her friends. His professor won some model kit from the event, and even in her drunken state, asked my boyfriend if he could stay up with her to work on the kit together. From what my boyfriend tells me, nothing else happened that night. After the event, everyone from that group created a group chat, and they continued to plan and talk about future events together. Since then, my boyfriend and his friends had met up with his professor and got to meet his professor's fiancée at an anime convention, and it sounded like they all got along very well. His professor continues to express interest in other events, and it sounds like she may be attending another event with my boyfriend and his friends in the near future. I trust my boyfriend and don't think he's hiding anything from me. Honestly speaking, I think it's hard for me to understand their friendship, as it's his professor. I've had a conversation with him on this, and he's let me know that I have nothing to worry about. I would like to hear others' opinions and see what you all think of this friendship. Is this something I need to be concerned about, or is it really nothing? Thank you all. Edit: the professor was my boyfriend's former professor. She is classified as an adjunct faculty and works as an accountant as her full-time job, which explains why she is a young professor. My boyfriend has not graduated college yet and is still a student at his university. Yeah, it is a strange dynamic on surface level, but again, so is her situation, the fact that she's adjunct faculty and whatnot. So maybe they don't see her as a professor and more so as like a peer. I don't know. One comment says, "You should go to one of the events with him." Opie says, "I do struggle with social anxiety, so it makes me uncomfortable to be sharing a space with a lot of unknown people. I'm hoping to go to the next event though, since it's local." Someone says her relationship with students is grossly unprofessional. Opie says, "I'm totally with you. I'm also quite confused of her choice of friends. I'm not sure why of all places does she choose to share an Airbnb with her former student and to be drunk with them. She's classified as an adjunct faculty, so she is a professor, but it's part-time. She works full-time as an accountant. The whole situation feels weird to me. Another comment says, "You say he's professor. What is their specific academic connection? She taught him once years ago and now they're roughly equals and friends? Or she's his primary support for a PhD, or what?" Opie replies, "The first option. She taught him last year and now they're now friends. He's no longer in a course with her. I totally understand how it's possible for students and their professors to be friendly, but I've never heard or seen of a friendship where you consistently talk and hang out together so casually." So she's no longer his professor. They're two adults of the same age and power level. It kind of gives me the same vibes like if a student graduated high school and is friends with their young teacher. Obviously not the same thing, but a student-teacher relationship is there. I think as a teacher, you should still uphold that level of professionalism and mentorship, even if you're no longer the student's teacher. I also want to note that they're technically not equals, since they're both in relationships. She can't be acting however she wants with former students. Yeah, I mean, it's not the best look. I think that goes without saying. On to an update. My boyfriend and I had a more heart-to-heart talk regarding his teacher, and he recognizes that it crossed some of my boundaries. He believes that she may be behaving the way she does because when she hangs out with her fiancé's friends, she gets bored with them, and may possibly be seeking attention from other people. Several weeks later, my boyfriend had a conversation with his college instructor regarding their friendship and told her how I didn't feel comfortable with their friendship and how he thinks they should keep communication at a minimum. She brought up how she understands because her fiancé also has an issue with how she chose to share an Airbnb with my boyfriend. She mentions to my boyfriend that she sees him as a brother and that's why she feels really comfortable with him, but that she'll try to respect my boyfriend's wishes of keeping conversations at a minimum. Well, even after that talk, she continues to still message my boyfriend weekly on random life updates, and because she's also part of my boyfriend's chat and Discord, one of his friends invited her to attend another plastic modelling show. It occurred recently, and dinner. Since she accepted the invitations, I chose to attend as well so that I could personally meet her. The dinner occurred first and it was very uncomfortable because she practically ignored me the entire night. When she joined us at the table, she greeted my boyfriend but didn't say anything to me. Even my boyfriend noticed and got annoyed, but then introduced us. She got increasingly drunk throughout the night and was saying random stuff about my boyfriend to his friends like, "He could have been the best student in my class, but it's 'cause he missed some assignments," and "The boyfriend gave me a 5-star review on Rate My Professor." She ended up not going to the show, but my boyfriend had a chat with his guys, and they told him that they want to respect my feelings too, and make it a guy's night next time. I would like to hear others' opinions and see if you also think she is acting suspicious. 4. Yeah, I think she crossed some lines there. One comment says, "She wants to have sex with your boyfriend. She's crossing major boundaries. Has he stopped conversation with her?" I wouldn't be surprised if that is her intention, because there's definitely some shady people out there. I agree she's crossing some professional and personal boundaries, and I think it's quite unusual behaviour for any teacher to act like that. Yes, he stopped communicating with her. She was consistently messaging him until last week, so hopefully she got the memo. Okay, now we have a separate post, supposedly from the professor, almost 8 months later. It's titled, "Why am I always portrayed as a drunk? Maria was drunk." A note, since there's been some confusion, Maria and Linda are the professor's friends. Maria is the one who can corroborate everything. I am the aforementioned professor in a post about me related to posts in subreddit. I decided to post a response after this event was brought up again with a mutual, Maria. We're both hanging out as I type this. She and I have both hung out with the boyfriend, Bob, in group settings, and think there are definitely two sides to this story. My main gripe is being portrayed as a drunk and demand stealer. Below is the original post that I found while browsing one day. Also, someone did find me after reading this post due to how specific it is. I'm responding paragraph by paragraph, so you don't need to read the original post, but feel free to. Okay, now the quote-unquote professor is going to respond paragraph by paragraph to the original post that I just read, so I'm not going to read it again, but I'll cut the text in, so feel free to pause and read it over if you want. I was an instructor for one class or semester that the boyfriend, Bob, attended. I have no say or sway at the school and have not taught since then. I taught a class related to my profession. I did not get to know Bob personally until after the class was over. On the last day, he expressed that I was a great instructor and gave me a miniature he built as a show of gratitude. I also made miniatures, a different type though, and was intrigued that someone else was into this hobby. We stayed in touch. Later, I invited a few students for a meal, girls and guys, and the boy students were the only ones who RSVP'd yes. Bob did mention an event. I did not invite myself. I said me and my friend Linda were interested and may go too. Later on, Bob invited me to join their group's Airbnb because I was looking at hotels. A previous event trip fell through for mine and Linda's friend group, and I felt bad she couldn't go on a trip in the USA before she had to go back to her home country. This trip was to replace that experience. Bob invited us to the Airbnb and Linda and I shared a room with 2 beds. Maria ended up coming on this trip as well, which the group was also okay with, and stayed in the same room with me and Linda. And in response to the night out paragraph, respectfully, I had 1 cocktail and then his friend bought everyone a shot. That was the extent of my drinking. I wasn't drunk. Linda wasn't drunk, and no one else in the group ended up being drunk. Maria was though. Maria underestimated how strong the drinks were, and she was the designated driver, and we did not have enough time to sober up once she felt the alcohol hit her. She couldn't drive, I didn't want to drive her dad's car, and Linda doesn't have a US driver's license. Bob offered to drive the car with me, Linda and Maria back to the Airbnb. The other car was driven back by his friend, who was not drunk, and drove sober. At the Airbnb, Bob asked what I would do with the model kit I won. I said I'm not familiar with this type of miniature and so I would sell it on Facebook Marketplace. He said it was actually easy to build. He had built that one before and he could help me build it right then, as all their tools for building were still out on the table. I said he didn't have to, but he insisted and I accepted his help. I was also still not drunk. Next to us in the living room, Maria and 2 of the guys were watching Oran High School Host Club and Cowboy Bebop. We all stayed up until 2 a.m, building or watching anime. For half of the trip, me and the girls split off and did our own thing. We did not stay with the group the entire trip because our intent was to piggyback a small girls' weekend while also seeing the event. And in response to the last 2 paragraphs, Bob and his group went to an anime convention. I and my friend group also went because I was not aware there was one near me until Bob mentioned it. My friend group, I thought, got along well with his friends and it was a great first con experience. I and a few of my friends expressed interest in future events. I think she is hung up on this professor titleship, but I was an instructor whom students called professor, but I was very clear this was a side gig and I had a career. I was never in any position of power at the school. I was a contract employee used to fill an open course section at an undesirable time. For the majority of the time I knew Bob, we were equals who were only 1 year apart in age and shared a similar hobby. And in response to the comments I read, I respect that they view my actions unprofessionally. I did not view it as such since I was no longer an instructor and have not been since. I taught a 4-month course 1 day a week. I would not be friends with an 18 to 22-year-old I had nothing in common with. Regarding the first paragraph of the update where they talked about boundaries, I did not know it had crossed any of their boundaries at the time until the phone call. I treated Bob the same way I treated all of my friends, but I do understand and respect that not everyone has the same view of friendship. My friend group went through a period where we would talk about going to stuff and then no one does any work to follow through. The event Linda and our friends were going to attend that never happened is a good example. I didn't want lazy friends being the reason why I did not experience things. Bob did follow through on going to things. My husband's concern was that it was a group of guys we'd not met yet in person and we were all girls. I told him that if I thought any of them was giving off a weird vibes, we would immediately leave and get a hotel. As for the phone call, he did call to tell me basically the same, and my understanding was that we should talk less because she does not like the closeness. At the time we were messaging every day, and I did make an attempt to reduce the frequency to once a week. And the paragraph about the dinner. One thing left out is that during the phone call between Bob and I asked Bob if his girlfriend would want to ever talk to or get to know me, or all 3 of us hang out, and he said he asked her and she said she did not want to do that, and she was uncomfortable at the thought of meeting me. I did stop messaging him frequently and only did so once a week to ask how his job search was going and to let him know the status of a big event in my life. I thought that was what was requested, less interaction, not no interaction. Maria and I went to this dinner because everyone from the Airbnb trip was going to be there. Linda did not go. What is not mentioned is that Bob and the girlfriend arrived 40 minutes into eating. They arrived when I was away from the table. When I saw them after I returned, I nodded and said hi, not specifically at Bob or her. I did not address the hi to either specifically because 1, the girlfriend does not like me and him talking, and I didn't want to disrespect that by talking to Bob in front of her. 2, she said she did not want to talk to me or get to know me previously, and I thought she still felt that way. I learned Bob and the girlfriend thought I only said hey to Bob, but I didn't direct it to anyone, and I was trying to play it safe. At that point, I knew she had social anxiety and was against meeting with me to get to know me previously, so I thought I was respecting her boundary by not talking to her. Had I known she came to personally meet me, I would have tried to talk to her. After learning why she came, I was surprised she did not try to start a conversation with me or Maria. As for the alcohol, except for them, since they arrived late, everyone had 2 to 3 drinks already because it was happy hour. Me and Maria made friends with the bartender, who gave us discounted cocktails. I ended up buying a drink for the girlfriend so she could get the discount and then pay me back. It's true I said those jokes, but I was not the one to bring them up. They were said in jest, and these were jokes already made in previous interactions. Later that week, Maria called me to catch up and mentioned the dinner. She commented that the girlfriend made no effort to get to know us and thought girlfriend went to monitor him and me. In essence, she ignored me and Maria and I ignored her. I did not go to the show because I had a prior commitment. About the comment saying that she wants to sleep with the boyfriend. As mentioned in her post, I did view Bob as a brother. He lived similar experiences to me, but I felt like he was where I would have been had I not moved out from my parents when I did. I wanted to see him professionally thrive and accomplish his goals of getting a car and moving out, as those were things I strived for but had already attained. As for the 5 to 6 times we met up, it was in group settings and he met all of my friends and my husband as well. This post, to me, makes it seem like I was always hanging on to Bob, but there were many instances of me and my friends breaking off to do our own thing. My husband and Linda's husband were both okay with us going to the Airbnb at the time, and later on met and got to know Bob too. Each time we met, if I drank, I had 2 drinks, and one time I had 3. I'm not sure how Bob told these events to his girlfriend, so it may just be lost in translation, but the only person who ever got drunk at a meetup was Maria, and it was once. I do not agree with her stating that I was constantly drunk for each meetup or always asking and inviting myself to things. He invited me and Linda to join his Airbnb group. I asked if Maria could also join us. I did ask to join his group for another event until my friend group arrived, which included my husband, Linda and Maria, and his friend invited me to the group dinner. Maria attended. To this day, his girlfriend has never said a word to me or Maria. She did not say hi and only waved to us, nor us her. When I offered to order and bring her cocktails from the bar, I believe Bob was the one who responded to my offer. I only found out about what she was thinking via this post. Linda, Maria and I haven't talked to Bob since. This was a cathartic write with Maria, as it's very jarring to randomly find a post about yourself and then also have someone find you from that post. Oh, okay folks, so a lot of info getting thrown around there. And yeah, obviously 2 sides to every story, but after that, I'm kind of leaning towards the professor, if you can call her that. I think she did a pretty good job of explaining her side and reasoning behind things. And if you are to believe her side, there's really nothing she did that was untoward or malicious towards the girlfriend or the original poster. But at the same time, yeah, you can't really blame the girlfriend for feeling how she did. I think this is a case of some serious miscommunications on both sides here. What do you guys think? Okay, the professor, or whatever she is, answers some more comments. Someone says, "There's always 2 sides to these stories, the jealous significant other and the other person. I think it was just bad communication, but it seems that I was expected to somehow know she came to the final dinner to get to know me, but all I knew was that 1, she rejected getting to know me in the past, citing she was uncomfortable, and 2, she did not try to talk to me or my friend at the dinner for the entire 3 hours we were all present together. Personally, I drop all communication with him and forget both of them even exist, not worth the trouble they bring to your life." That is what ended up happening. Bob was angry that I ignored his girlfriend at the dinner, but I thought it was an unspoken agreement to mutually ignore each other to avoid any awkwardness. Another comment says, "For me, it was Bob agreeing that you were being inappropriate to the point that he called you and directly asked you to limit your contact with him. You then rudely don't say hi to either of them at a dinner when everyone else does, until you decide to tease Bob about the period you were his teacher. I'm not shocked the girlfriend and Bob were super uncomfortable with this situation. She replies, "Sure, that is a fair assessment. I said hi in both their directions because I did not want to address either one individually, just in case it made them uncomfortable. I left the table to go to the bathroom, and when I came back, they were there. Hindsight is 2020, and I can say that I should have talked to them since it's now clear she attended the dinner to meet me. I had thought not talking to them after Bob asked me to limit contact with him and not talk to his girlfriend was respecting their boundaries. I'm going to update my post though to note that I did not initiate these jokes. A guy at the table mentioned it first, and I confirmed and ribbed his bit." Another comment says, "May I ask your age and how long you've been married? Do you think the drinks emboldened you to engage the other person's ribbing of Bob after you blatantly ignored him? Or was it in your talk with Bob after he asked you to chill?" Opie replies, "Not sure why you're downvoted, but we were 26 at that time and I was engaged then. I refer to my husband as such because it seemed natural." Like I explained in a separate comment, Bob and his girlfriend did not talk to me or Maria, and we did not talk to them either. His girlfriend stayed by his side the entire time, and I wasn't about to walk up to both of them and try to have a friendly conversation after knowing they're both uncomfortable with me. I thought it was a mutual unspoken ignoring of each other. They seemed to have a good time, and me and Maria had a good time. I didn't know that they were offended. I didn't talk to them until after I found the original Reddit post. As for engaging in the ribbing, that was a vibe the entire night. Just a good time with friends, sometimes poking fun at each other, but not seriously. Even at that point, I still didn't directly talk to Bob. I just acknowledged the joke, gestured towards Bob as I was speaking, and confirmed the joke a different person at the table made, and that was it. Yeah, honestly, after reading both sides now, I don't know what to think. Honestly, I think the boyfriend's probably the most at fault here. He was kind of the middleman, and it's clear that he didn't really relay information as well as he should have, and then assumptions go from there. I don't know, what do you guys think? Let me know what side you're on. Anyway, that's it from me today. Hope you guys enjoyed that story. Thanks for making it to the end, and I'll see you all in the next video. Have a good day. Cheers.